Time for our top 5. And this week, what we're doing is our top 5 wide receiver 2s, meaning they are the second wide receiver on their own team. And we're going to do this. Jeff and I are going to take 2 different approaches to this. So I'm going to pick 5. There are 5 teams where it's sort of unclear who the wide receiver 2 is, whether it's because somebody's the 1, someone's the 2, or even in one case, who's the 2 and who's the 3. But so I'm going to go through those. Jeff is going to look at wide receiver 2s who, for their ADP, present good value. And Jeff,
before you begin, what's kind of funny is that we might even have a little bit of overlap because we might have a difference in opinion and if they're actually 2s or not.
Jeff, man, we talked about this.
No,
are you in the production meetings?
Here we go. Okay, so you want my number, my first, and I have an order tonight.
I want you to know what we talked about you doing. Let's hope that it was. So go ahead. Number 5 on your list, Jeff. Here we go.
We each might have a different definition of what the unclear versus the clear. But
that's why we talked about this.
It's not unclear. This is that. Okay, I'm gonna start right here.
All right.
Pretty much all 5 of my guys are in the double-digit rounds.
Okay, good.
So there is the first guy is hovering into double digits. He's right at the tail end of single digits. He goes at the 9.6. This is through ADP calculator because FFPC, for some reason, they turned off their ADP right now. I don't know what's happening. Maybe someone watched this podcast and they said, "Oh, someone's using our ADP." So
market's getting hot, I guess.
Cooper Kupp.
Okay,
is that acceptable?
Well, he is on my list. And the reason why is because it's one of those situations that I laid out ahead of time. But
we didn't discuss the teams. I didn't know who you had in mind, but
fair enough.
I think that the definition with the St. Louis Rams, my God, someone actually said San Diego Chargers like 9 times during their game last week.
Yeah.
I think Cooper Kupp is the number 2. I'm not talking about Top Gurley. I think Brandon Cooks is the number 1. Yeah. And I think Cooper Kupp is the number 2.
Not Robert Woods, because right now Robert Woods is the second Rams receiver according to ADP.
But I think when it comes to your go-to guy, so here's my only argument. Here's my main argument. Cooper Kupp is actually a pretty big red zone guy. He got a lot of targets in the red zone last year. And I think he's undervalued. And this is the kind of guy, I'm telling you, if you don't want to draft Larry Fitzgerald like I won't, I'd wait a few rounds and draft Cooper Kupp, but I'd be very happy having him on my, as a wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4.
I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy that right now Woods is going ahead of him. I have no idea. Woods is fine. He is a professional wide receiver who will do the job that you ask him to do. But like, he's not. I don't think there's anything exceptional about him. And I think maybe Kupp's not exceptional either, but like he is particularly good in the red zone. And I do think he has a knack for scoring touchdowns. And I feel like if you're average at everything that you're expected to do at your position, if you're average at all of those things, but you're like extra pretty good at one of those things, you're a good player. And he's a good player. He's going to be on a good team, on a Super Bowl contending team, a good offense. Yeah, Cooper Kupp, man. I can't believe he's going behind Woods.
Can I say something cheeky?
Please do.
Maybe this is a race issue, bro, because I agree Robert Woods should not be ahead of Cooper Kupp.
I mean, maybe, but here's the thing, though. A lot of those, gritty intermediate route guys that we talk about, a lot of them are white guys. So I don't know about that. I feel like Kupp is like the if there are what am I trying to say here? So the fact that a lot of those overrated guys are white guys just mean because they're small and scrappy or whatever, right? But like Kupp's a white guy who's got the goods.
Yeah, he does.
And he's behind a black guy who's kind of like, run-of-the-mill, straight-ahead guy. And it's like, because of race, we can't see who's who. It's like you're talking about Cooper Kupp's fundamentals and Robert Woods' natural ability, when Robert Woods is like this like really well-coached, runs every route correctly guy. And Cooper Kupp jumps over people and gets touchdowns in the end zone. Who knows, man?
Look, you can have Robert Woods on your team, but I'd feel better starting Cooper Kupp every week than I would Robert Woods.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even for standard, I'm sorry to say that. I know, like, we just got off the PPR thing, but I'm okay with Kupp and standard. So,
oh man, we're only talking standard. We're only talking standard ever. That's what I see. Because if there's a player in standard who you wouldn't say he's good, but then someone would say actually in PPR he's pretty good. That means it's not good. That means PPR is not good either. That's why, you know. But Cooper Kupp, if I say he's good, it means I think he's good at standard, you know.
Catch dependence, these PPR guys.
Yeah, catch dependent, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, Cooper Kupp's going to be a solid piece on a really good offense. That's all right. All right. Number 5 on both of our lists is done. Let's move on to number 4 on your list.
We just saved time because we both had him on our list. So okay, go ahead, Mo.
I don't know. You go again.
Okay, me go again. Okay.
Yeah. So I need to make sure that we don't have the same players.
Very surprising, in my opinion, that this is the next guy up in the ADPs. Cooper Kupp was 9.6. This guy is 10.7.
Okay.
I don't know if he's good value per se, but I think he is their wide receiver too, and that's Mike Williams on San Diego Chargers.
Okay, good pick.
I don't think Tyrell Williams is the number 2. I think he's their splash play guy, and I know I said splash play way too many times in the last episode. This I'll really just have it on this one, but
Mike was the season of splash play personally.
He was the first-round draft pick last year. He's a big boy, and I think he is worthy of having on your stable of wide receivers this year. I think he's a wide receiver too, and I hate to knock on the whole injury thing, but if Keenan ever does get hurt, Mike Williams, I don't want to say league winner, but I think he could really make a dent in the fantasy season this year for people.
Yeah. I think especially with where he's being drafted.
Yeah.
You know, because he's being drafted somewhere you don't expect to get a every week starter, and if he can turn into that, that'd be great. I also think that he provides a little bit of size in the receiving core that they're missing with Henry gone, and as of yet, no. Who is the tight end in San Diego, in LA now? I said San Diego too. Who is the Chargers tight end right now?
Yeah, Antonio Ates.
Is he back? Is he signed?
Antonio? No, I actually don't know. It could be Virgil.
That's what I'm asking, right? I'm like, I don't think they signed him. I think they just don't have a tight end right now.
No, they don't. It's tight end, Mike Williams, dude.
Mike Williams.
Been lining up, just like as if he's a move tight end kind of guy. So
yeah,
I'm excited about watching him this year. So
yeah. All right, so let's go to number 4 on my list. Number 4 situation that I want to talk about. These receivers are going on Fantasy Pros consensus ADP. They're back to back. They're wide receiver 20 and 21, and they are the Detroit Lions wide receivers at 20. Marvin Jones at 21. Golden Tate. So technically, right now, Tate's the wide receiver 2. I think that'll hold. I think Jones will continue to be drafted ahead of Tate, and I think because of that, I like Tate. You know, he's. I don't want to, again, he's another guy. I don't want him as my wide receiver 2. I don't like that profile, but if you can get him as your flex, I think it's pretty solid. Jones, I'm like, I don't know if Jones, so what Jones is able to do in spurts or even in individual games, like I don't get the impression that he can do that like reliably, consistently throughout an entire season. I feel like he's a guy who will have 4, 5, 6 week stretches, but not a whole season. What's
so funny is that we chose Cooper Kupp and Golden Tate, so we're like PPR boys all of a sudden.
That's because they're good anyway, man. That's the thing.
Football players. Yeah, I agree. I think Marvin Jones, who finished 5th in fantasy scoring last year, he's not going to repeat that, man.
I you have to draft him for that, obviously, but even still, I mean, I don't feel good at if he's my wide receiver too. There's other guys that I'd rather have. There's a bunch of other guys I'd rather have. And for Golden Tate, yeah, you said flex? Yeah.
I think he's a great flex.
See, I think Detroit's the kind of offense. Detroit can be a good offense and have a lot of they're like a whole team of flex players. You know what I mean? That's what Detroit is. That's like, that's a good offense in Detroit is everybody's a flex play, but I think, I don't know. Also, you look at it, Kenny Golladay is there in Detroit as well. And who does he, if he were to take a step forward, who would he threaten? He would threaten Jones.
Yeah.
Where he wouldn't threaten Tate so much. I think Tate's job is kind of safe.
Yeah.
Jones has more upside in a given week, but I don't think he does over the course of a season. And I think he has more of a threat from Golladay.
Right. And Tate is always Stafford's first look, for sure.
Yeah. And I bet you there's when the Lions go from last year to this year, they're like, let's try to have fewer 4 for 40 games from Golden Tate. He's a really good player. Let's, you know.
If you put Tate in your flex, that means you probably have like a Corey Davis, like another upside guy that you're banking on.
Well, you already know from hearing me talk. When I pick my wide receiver 2, I'm going blindfolded and throwing a dart, right? So, like, you could be my wide receiver 2 because I'll just replace you if you're no good. But wide receiver 3, flex, oh yeah, I want some slow and steady. That's what I want, I guess.
Should we move on to my number 3?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this guy also surprised me that he is actually maybe a little less so. He plays in a good team now. Cam Meredith.
Yeah, Meredith. Yeah, great pick.
At the 11-6, round 11, pick 6. The only reason I'm choosing him is because I heard a great stat, and I'm trying now to write them down because I want to give them credit. I heard it on a podcast.
Also, because when you mentioned you have a great stat, we need the stat.
Here's the stat. I wanted to give credit to the podcast first, but Drew Brees has supported 2 top 25 receivers in 9 of his last 10 years.
Wow.
So
last year being the only one he didn't?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was either top 25 or 2 top 30s, but either way, I mean, geez.
Honestly, you got to work on your stat stuff, right?
Maybe I shouldn't be crediting anyone right now, but
well, just write the stat down, and then so you can deliver the correct stat. All right, I got a stat for you. It feels like sometimes.
Yeah, so look, I don't mind drafting Meredith. Because we're talking wide receiver 2s. I wouldn't want him as my wide receiver 2, but if we're talking NFL wide receiver 2s, I think he's right there. It belongs properly on my list.
Yeah, because he's not a guy you're drafting as your wide receiver 2, but he's a guy you're drafting late that could end up being that.
All right, so who's your next guy?
All right, next on my list, let's go with – all right, so the situation right now they're going wide receiver 32 and 35 respectively. These are the San Francisco 49ers wide receivers, Pierre Garçon and Marquise Goodwin. Right now, Garçon is going ahead of Goodwin, which makes Goodwin the wide receiver 2. And again, I don't know. I don't think that lasts. I think in the next couple of weeks, Goodwin will start getting drafted ahead of Garçon. So I'm going to say if Garçon is the wide receiver 2 in San Francisco, he's been good in San Francisco. He's been good in Washington. He's been good in Indianapolis. He's not just a product of environments. He's a good player. He's, I think he's a guy who can catch a lot of passes. I think if Jimmy G is as good as we saw from him last year, great. Goodwin will have a good season. If Jimmy G is not as good, if Jimmy G is as good as we saw last season, Goodwin and Garçon can have good years. If Jimmy G is not as good as he was last year and he kind of struggles, Garçon can still have a really good season.
Yeah. I will say if I wanted to go running back heavy in the first few rounds, like the first 3-4 rounds, and Sammy Watkins was my wide receiver 1, and I'd be okay having Marquise Goodwin as my wide receiver 2.
Sure. But we're talking about Garçon because he's the wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
I swear to God, you're like out to destroy me every show, aren't you? This is crazy, dude. We talk about this stuff.
I was just thinking of Goodwin there for a sec. Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, I feel like he's like the Frank Gore of receivers, right? So
yeah.
I wouldn't feel good about it. I had him on my team last year and he broke his neck, so
well, okay, if you're gonna hold that against them, fine. But let me ask you this: a healthy Pierre Garçon, over under 80 catches?
Under.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You are down on Garçon then. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's time, man. I think we got to pour one out for Pierre.
Fair enough. Okay, who's number 2 on your list?
Okay, so I got 2 players left, and this one actually is my biggest value, and I still don't know how he's still so low, man. And I think he might be secretly wide receiver 1, but not on paper right now. It's Kenny Stills.
Yeah.
12th round, he's got ADP calculator 12-1, so the first pick in the 12th round. And Kenny Stills just seems to be the right guy to pick that offense, and I have no problems having him on my team.
He's for sure he's gonna be the best wide receiver in Miami. I don't know. Devontae Parker, man. Devontae Parker is an example of what happens when you read about spark scores, but you don't know how that stuff translates. You know what I mean? I don't even know if Devontae Parker is a spark score guy. I just know that he's a guy that people have been like, he's a great athlete and he's this and that. Just wait, just wait, just wait. And then we've been waiting, and he's not good.
I saw him make one really nice catch.
I can't believe Parker opened this offseason being drafted ahead of Stills. I can't believe he's still there. I can't like it's crazy. Kenny Stills gets no respect, man. He's not even that great. He just watched the Dolphins. He clearly is their best wide receiver.
I mean, if you're playing standard, he's fantastic.
Yeah. Standard's great. PPR. The fact that PPR erases the value of a guy like Kenny Stills, that's all I need to know. I hate PPR. No, I understand. Like, I think what it is, like, there are people that are like, all right, this team is not going to be good. This offense is not going to be good. This passing game is not going to be good. But they're not going to pass for 0 yards. It's not like they're going to be unable to pass. You know what I mean? Like, even the worst passing offense are still going to throw for 3,000 yards, and somebody's going to catch 1,000 of them. You know, like, you can't dismiss them entirely. Dallas, same thing. Like, none of those guys are going to be great values. They're not going to win you championships. But like the idea that they're not going to be playable, of course they will. Of course they will. It's a professional offense. They're going to move down the field somewhat.
It's going to be funny because no one really wants to draft Kenyon Drake. No one likes Tannehill. No one's going to draft Frank Gore. Kenny Stills, it's really just the Kenny Stills show at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. Even when Miami has good players, it seems like they do it by accident, you know? But like, meanwhile, they're sitting there, they're trying to force Devontae Parker, not working. They're trying to force Ryan Tannehill, not working. It's just like, and then meanwhile, Kenyon Drake and Kenny Stills are like, yo, what do we got to do, man? Just like run the offense through us. We're okay. We're actually pretty good.
Who do you got?
More exciting failures. You know what I mean?
Every year, man. I don't know. Like, who do you think is going to be worse this year, Miami or Cleveland? Is that a dumb question?
No, I think Miami's going to be way worse.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not all the way in, but I'm buying into Cleveland being on the way up for sure.
By the way, I saw Hard Knocks last night, episode 1, so I'm proud of you. I think episode 2 came out tonight.
Yeah, I saw episode 2 as well.
Okay.
But we don't have to talk about the show itself, but just like, you see what I mean, though, about how Hard Knocks messes with your fantasy perception? I want to draft all those guys, man. I see you got David Njoku makes one cash in practice. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna draft him. That's it.
Is your next player a Cleveland Brown?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna mention them last or next. I'll talk right now. So right now, Cleveland Browns wide receivers: Josh Gordon is going 24, and Jarvis Landry is going 25. I think that'll swap as long as Gordon does not show up to training camp. I think he will then start getting drafted later than Landry. And I love Josh Gordon, man. If Josh Gordon's playing week 1, I would love to have Josh Gordon as my wide receiver too.
So big on Josh Gordon, man. Every text I have with you, you're trying to make me draft Josh Gordon.
I'm just saying, if he's available and healthy and there playing week 1, then I will retroactively have trusted this whole process that he's been through.
Josh Gordon or Larry Fitzgerald?
Josh Gordon for sure. Josh Gordon for sure. Absolutely. Actually, they're talking about Landry because Landry is going to go down. He's going to get drafted as the best wide receiver in Cleveland, number 1 wide receiver in Cleveland. I think he'll have a good year. I think Cleveland's going to be okay. I think he's not going to get the same target share he's used to. And I think, maybe we'll find out that Jarvis Landry's a lot better than we've seen from him in Miami. Because in Miami, he's had to be a hero just to keep them respectable. Maybe if he has a chance to be good and on a good team, we'll see something more from him. I don't know yet, man. I know that Josh Gordon has it in him.
Yeah. You know? The funny thing is, I think Gordon, Doug Baldwin, Sony Michel, these could all be league winners only because of how people are viewing them right now, and they're slipping. Mm-hmm. It's a category in itself, potential league winner. But Doug Baldwin, Josh Gordon, Sony Michel are the names that pop up of guys
guys who draw, like, because they get hurt or something, their draft stock falls. So yeah, like Sony Michel. This is getting off topic, but like Sony Michel, earlier you had to draft him to start in week 1.
Yeah,
and that's dicey with any rookie, any Patriots running back, blah 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 blah, all those things, right? Now that he's hurt. You could probably get him as your wide receiver 3 or whatever, like your running back with 3. So, no, he's that good. You can get him as your wide receiver 3. You can probably get him as your running back 3, so that he's not starting for you in week 1. That buys him time to get on the field. That buys you time to need him, like when bye weeks or injuries come up. And yeah, and all of a sudden, like, you know, he could be one of those. I think rookie running backs, like it's rare, but impossible, but rare for like a running back to come in and just dominate from week 1 all the way through. What often happens though is running backs come in week 7, week 8, week 9, and then they get the job and then they run with it. So I feel like we're way off topic now. We're talking about
we're at like 48 minutes here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is terrible. All right, let's just finish up. So, how about this? I'll do my last matchup, and then you do your number one. Okay. All right. So the last matchup, the last wide receiver group to figure out who's the one, who's the two. Minnesota Vikings. Right now, Stephon Diggs is being drafted as the 12th wide receiver off the board. Adam Thielen is going right behind him at 13. Who's the one? Who's the two? I mean, Diggs is hot right now, man. Like, opinion of Diggs is really hot. People are talking like he's the league winner. I think the market on Diggs is getting up a little bit out. But the truth is, he can't stay on the field as well as Thielen seemed to. I think Stephon Diggs week to week will average more points per game, but he'll also miss more time than Adam Thielen, and then their end of year counting stats will be almost the same. Because I think they are a yin and yang that makes that passing attack good. I think it's not that there are two good wide receivers in Minnesota. It's that these two wide receivers make Minnesota's passing offense good. And I think if Thielen is the two in that, then I'm less excited about it. If Diggs somehow did stay below Thielen as the second Minnesota receiver being drafted, I would be pointing at Diggs and saying that's a guy with some upside. But now people are drafting him at that upside, and now I'm like, oh, shit, maybe Thielen's the better value.
Well, let me test your truther status here. Josh Gordon or Thielen?
Josh Gordon. Well, Adam Thielen's not getting 140 targets again or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, okay, Josh Gordon or Diggs? Take it easy.
Diggs.
Okay. All right, fine. Yeah. Josh Gordon or Todd Gurley? That's great. I don't know where Thielen came from, honestly. Like, he's really good.
No, he is. He is really good. I just think his target share last year, I think it was 143 targets. That's a lot. That's especially a lot when you have a guy like Diggs next to you.
Yeah.
You know? And people are excited about Kyle Rudolph. People are excited about Cook. Kirk Cousins, but like they say, Kirk Cousins, he throws to the tight end a lot. People are excited about Cook. Like Diggs, if you assume more health and he's on the field more, how is Thielen going to get 140 targets?
So do you think Thielen will finish as a top 20 wide receiver?
As a top 20 wide receiver? Yeah, probably. I think
Diggs higher though.
Diggs has like top 10 wide receiver potential. Obviously he's being drafted as the 12. Yeah. So maybe it's fair to say Diggs is top 5 potential.
It's going to be interesting this year, man. I would have confidence drafting either of those guys. And who's the number 2? Yeah, it's hard to say at this point.
Well, that's the thing. So if Thielen's listed as the number, if Thielen ends up being the number 2, if he's getting drafted after Diggs, then I would say he is the better value than Diggs relative to each other. I wouldn't be as excited pointing him out as one of these wide receiver 2s as I would be if Diggs were looked at as a wide receiver 2. But that explains why it's not that way. That's why it explains why Diggs is going ahead of Thielen, is because you'd be excited.
Two great receivers, man.
Yeah. Minnesota's got a good team. I think both wide receivers they're gonna be like a way better version of Detroit's receivers.
Yeah, I agree.
Detroit's got 2 flexes, and I think Minnesota's got 2 good wide receiver 2s.
Yeah.
I mean, you got one more guy. Who's your last?
All right, so my last guy is actually undrafted right now. He's off the board. He's not even on ADP calculator. Which means he's over pick 215. Mm-hmm. John Brown on the Ravens. Wow. I just have a gut instinct. I think he'll be the number 2, and I think that he is going to crush his non-drafted ADP.
Yeah. So who's his competition there? So Crabtree's the number 1.
Yeah, Crabtree's the number 1. I don't know that every year around this time, always John Brown looks good. He's like the number 1 guy in camp. I just have a feeling that he's going to put it together one of these years he's putting it together. I think it's going to be this year. And I feel like he's a Ravens kind of guy, man. I don't really know what that means, but he's like he's
I don't either.
a little bit. You know, he's a little undersized, but he's got good leap ability. He's got the intensity. He's an intense player. He's a very popular player with his teammates.
Yeah, people love John Brown. People love John Brown for very little to do with what's actually been done, what he's actually done on the field.
I don't know. I think he will emerge as their number 2 receiver, and I think he has. I would draft him. I would take a flyer on him at the end of my draft.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
That's it.
That's how we feel when we start talking about the Baltimore Ravens offense. Sorry. No, I think you're right. I think, yeah, if he's going undrafted, if he's just a guy you can get at the end of either your last round, get him for $1 in your auctions for all you auctioneers out there. Yeah, I mean, why not, man? Like I said, Baltimore, they don't even have to have talent. But every so often they go 11-5, 12-4 anyway, you know? And I feel like there's positivity, man. There's optimism in Baltimore. They have 2 chances to have a good quarterback. They have, you know, I like Crabtree coming in. I like John Brown as a guy who can stretch the field. I'm a big fan of – I think there's going to be a lot of field stretching this year. I think this is going to be a year with a lot – the NFL is going to turn into the CFL this year. That's how wide open it's going to get. And I think guys like John Brown can do well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, people – so, okay, with John Brown, he has health issues, right? Because he has sickle cell.
Right.
And I know that affects people in high altitude, like in Denver. And I've heard people talk about it affecting him in Arizona. And I don't actually know Arizona's elevation or if it's enough. So maybe people have just been making excuses for John Brown. I don't know. I can't tell, right? But he's a good player. I mean, the Ravens need somebody who can stretch the field, who can take the top off, and I think he can do it.
He's got to play in like at sea-level cities, man.
I guess so. I guess so. Now he's on the Eastern Seaboard. Exactly.
Anyways, so that's our list. Mo, do you want to wrap this one up, or what? Any final thoughts? Or
final thoughts? I would say, just keep it together, guys. Keep it together. Preseason football is going to start to seem more meaningful. We're coming up on like the dress rehearsal weeks. The next couple of weeks are going to be busy for a lot of drafts and a lot of auctions and stuff. So I don't know, man. Just try to keep your wits about you. Try to trust what you've already been thinking this whole time, and don't let news sway you that drastically. You know what I mean? Like any new bit of information, take it through the same thought process as you do everything else. You know, just trust yourself.
Yeah, I would say just watch the ADPs rise and fall. Just watch these guys and think about why they're rising and why they're falling. But I would stick to your gut impression on what the player is personally. So
I think so. I think like there are factors that'll affect people's situation and people's outlook, but that's not the same as like reports in camp saying this guy looks great, and you're like, everybody, of course he looks great. Of course he's a professional athlete, and you're some dumpy 48-year-old reporter with mustard on his shirt. Yeah, these guys look great. They have to look better than each other, not better than you and better than me. You know what I mean? They have to be better than each other.
Not wearing baggy pants.
Yeah. Every time, keep in mind, everybody that gets fawned over how great they look, there's 500-600 other people that are also really good, you know? And it's like, yeah, just chill. Like, yeah, people have been excited about Tavon Austin and Kristen Michael this week, which tells you everybody gets a turn.
Yeah.
Don't get carried away. Keep your wits about you. That's it. How about you, Jeff? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Don't just keep away from all that stuff. But I do want to wish you a happy birthday this weekend.
Happy birthday to you too. Enjoy yourself.
And I have the logo queued up here. I can get it going. Are you near the music?
I'm ready. I'm ready to do the music. You tell if you have the logo queued up. I'm ready to hit the music on myself. I'm going to show because
all right, here we go. Ready to go. So I'm ready for you.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Thank you for joining us on the Unintangibles. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back on Monday. Hope to see you then. All right. Take care, guys.
Yeah. Look at that. That's beautiful.
Nailed it.